Rafa Nadal to miss 6 to 8 weeks, Medvedev out of the Australian Open, and a mysterious Netflix curse. Hey guys, it's Alti, hope you're doing well, and let's go together for our weekly tennis summary in about 5 minutes this time. MG, your turn.
Finalist in 2021 and 2022, Daniil Medvedev will not be present this time in Melbourne on the last Sunday. The Russian lost this Friday in 3 sets to Sebastian Korda 7-6, 6-3, 7-6. For the second Australian Open since his debut, Sebastian Korda hit hard. The American admitted to having played one of the best matches of his career. I've always known that I could be a really good player. Now I just trying to surround myself with the right people. Daniil Medvedev had not been eliminated from a Grand Slam before the round of 16 since 2020 French Open. Something seems to be broken with the Russian. He has lost 8 consecutive matches to top 10 players since the Australian Open in 2022. Currently ranked 8 in the world, the Russian will be out of the top 10 at the end of the tournament for the first time since 2019. Since losing to Rafa Nadal on Rod Laver Arena last year when he was leading 2-0, the 26-year-old has not been quite the same. Despite the sadness of some of the favourites, outsiders are having fun in Melbourne. Indeed, the young Australian Alexei Popyrin eliminated Taylor Fritz in the second round. This year, Popyrin has already won 2 matches against top 10, one against Felix Auger-Aliassime and the second one against Taylor Fritz on Thursday. On fire and overjoyed in front of his audience, Popyrin came to the end of one of the outsiders of the tournament. A crazy success in 5 sets. The crowd was crazy and gave a monstrous energy to the local. I will never forget that day. It was a very special win. I've changed the environment I'm in now a little bit. I've added a nutritionist who has helped me for my recovery. I have the level to beat top 10 players. Hammer blow for the Australian public. Nick Kyrgios, with a knee injury, announced his withdrawal on Monday for the 2023 edition of the Australian Open. For the first time in 10 years, he is absent from his national Grand Slam. He had great ambitions for it. Nick Kyrgios was already on the court before the tournament for an exhibition with Novak Djokovic on the Rod Laver Arena. He used this practice match as a test, but the result was hardly conclusive. It's bad timing, but that's life. Injuries are part of the sport. I have no doubt that I will be back to my best, but right now I'm devastated because I'm probably playing the best tennis of my career. Although he had not reached the quarterfinals since 2015, the Australian could have hoped for great things this year, given his performance in the last Grand Slam tournaments, a final in Wimbledon and a quarterfinal in the US Open.
Injured in the hip during his fatal second round against Mackenzie McDonald on Wednesday, Nadal will miss 6 to 8 weeks of competition as he revealed on his Twitter account. The Spaniard suffers from a grade 2 injury in the psoas iliacus of his left leg. So when can Nadal expect to make his return to competition? That's the big question. The Indian Wells Master 1000 is probably too soon. Miami seems like a more reasonable and attainable goal considering the nature of his injury. But wouldn't it be better for Nadal to skip the North American hardcore tour, which is more traumatic for his body, and prepare directly for clay? With the first Grand Slam of the year behind him, his next big goal is to win his 15th French Open and his 23rd major of his career. Thursday was an incredible night in Melbourne. Andy Murray qualified for the 3rd round of the Australian Open after his 250th Grand Slam match. He beat Australian Thanasi Kokkinakis after being down 2-0 and 5-2 in the 3rd. The match ended at 4 a.m. and lasted almost 6 hours. It was the longest match of his entire career. Murray had to withstand everything in this match. And above all, an excellent performance by Kokkinakis, boosted by a wild Margaret Court arena. Proved that Murray had to come back from everything. This ball at 2-0 against him in the 3rd, where Kokkinakis smashed his racket in disgust after an amazing defense by Murray. Netflix probably didn't expect that when it launched the first 5 episodes of Breakpoint a few days before the start of the Australian Open. Of the 10 players followed by the cameras in these episodes, 9 were eliminated before the second week in Melbourne, the latest being Maria Sakkari picked up by Ling Su. In a match that ended at almost 2 AM in Australia, the Chinese player consistently led the way before falling behind 4-3 in the deciding set, but that was not enough to sway her. She went on to win her first win over a top 10 player and her first run of 16 in Grand Slam. The Greek joins Nick Kyrgios, Thanasi Kokkinakis, Paula Badosa, Tyler Fritz, Tomljanovic, Berrettini, Jabeur, Ruud and Tiafoe in the Netflix curse.
Every week, we look back at the biggest moments in tennis history. On January 22, 2003, Radek beat El Anaoui 21-19 in the 5th set of the quarterfinals in the Australian Open. That day, the two players played one of the most beautiful matches in the history of the Australian Open. The young American won at the end of what was the longest tennis 5th set in the history of the Grand Slam in terms of duration. 2 hours and 23 minutes, and in terms of games, 40 games. There was no strategy at the end of the 5th set. It was pure bagarre. A story of heart, admitted the American after his victory. Last week, we asked you what you were thinking of the new series Breakpoint. Here's the question for this week. Do you think that after his loss in the second round, Rafa Nadal will be able to win another slam? Answer in the comments and we will select the best one for next week. Take care and see you next week for a new video.